When a child is diagnosed with cancer, the journey affects far more than their physical health. It touches the emotional and mental well-being of the entire family.
Today on the Mindful Mic, we're joined by Elizabeth Lizberg, CEO of Camp Rainbow Gold, to talk about the powerful role connection, community, and nature play in supporting families facing pediatric cancer.
Elizabeth shares how Camp Rainbow Gold creates spaces where children, siblings, and caregivers can step away from the hospital, feel understood, and begin healing together.
This is a conversation about resilience, hope, and the mental health support families need beyond the medical setting. Let's get started.
Okay, here we are with Elizabeth Lizberg, CEO of Camp Rainbow Gold. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being here today. We're so excited to have you in and to have a conversation with you.
It's my absolute pleasure to talk about Camp Rainbow Gold anytime.
Wonderful. We're going to kind of just get into first a little bit of an introduction, if you can, about yourself and what brought you to this fabulous nonprofit that you've been at for, sounds like a long time.
Almost 19
years. Fabulous.
Yes. So Camp Rainbow Gold supports Idaho children that have been diagnosed with cancer and their families. And prior to this, I was in a job that was pretty stressful. It was working with children that had been abused. And I was in that role for 7 years, and it was just weighing on me more and more. And actually, my brother called me because he's been a volunteer for the organization for over 30 years and said, "They're hiring, you need to apply."
Oh, wow.
And I did and have been there since.
It was your calling.
It was my calling. It combines business with helping others.
Yeah.
And that is where my heart just gets filled.
So it sounds like you've been in the nonprofit world, though,
I've been
most of your career, or for
most of my career.
Yeah.
Early on, it was in retirement communities with seniors. So
Okay.
again, business and helping others. And then it was with a nonprofit with St. Luke's, actually. And then here.
And then, so you said for 30 years, is that how long has the camp's been around? The nonprofit?
44 years.
44 years.
Mm-hmm. But my brother now has been there for more than 30 years as a volunteer.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I love that. I did not realize it had been around that long.
44 years.
44 years. And did it come from Idaho? Is it a homegrown nonprofit?
It is. It's Idaho based, and it happened because a young man in Twin Falls, a 10-year-old boy, was going to the doctor for a regular visit, and the doctor kind of noted that he was down and said, "What's going on?" And he said, "I'm kind of bummed out because I don't get to go to camp." And he said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because I have cancer." And the doctor said, Dr. McCluskey out of Twin Falls said, "That's not right." He was on the board of the American Cancer Society and went to the board and said, "We need to start a camp." And our first camp was really Dr. McCluskey, some volunteers, and a few kids in tents in the woods.
Oh, my
44
gosh.
years ago.
Wow. So it's probably evolved a lot from that to today, right? What does it look like today?
Well, it's definitely not just a few kids in tents. It has evolved. In the beginning, several big differences, I would say, is in the beginning, we only focused our services on the child with cancer. And over the years, we evolved away from that because a cancer diagnosis impacts the entire family. And we wanted to make sure that they were all included. We went from having one camp to currently having 5. We've gone from being a nonprofit under the umbrella of American Cancer Society to being our own independent nonprofit. And the other big change would be that we went from leasing other campsites around Idaho to now owning our own 172 acres in Fairfield, Idaho, which we call Hidden Paradise.
Wow. There's so much to unpack here because I have so many questions. So first we have the two aspects. We have talking about, children with cancer and how you're servicing them. So I kind of want to first get into that aspect of it. And then the other aspect I also want to get into, you're talking about the families and siblings because cancer affects the whole family, right?
Absolutely.
So let's first talk about children and how the camps, kind of tell us a little bit more about the camps, what a day or a weekend or however long they are looks like for these kiddos.
So we have our main summer camps in June every year, and we have one for youth, kids that have been diagnosed with cancer ages 6 to 12. We have a teen camp for the kids been diagnosed ages 13 to 17, and then we have our sibling camp. Those main camps are 7 days up in this beautiful campsite, but we don't label ourselves as a traditional camp, because one of the things that we work hard to bring to our camps, I mean, we have the archery and the horseback riding and the s'mores, but our volunteers, we're volunteer based. So we have groups of volunteers that run all of our camp programs, and they come up with some of the most extravagant and been described as Disney-like activities. Wow. And a lot of the reason for that is because when they're diagnosed with cancer, not only the child with cancer, but the whole family find themselves isolated. Mm-hmm. And what we take for granted sometimes, just day in and day activities like being a part of Boy Scouts or going to a school dance, those kinds of activities are gone because they have to be isolated and protect them from any kind of illness because their immune systems are dropped. So we work hard to bring activities. We've had dances that are off the charts. For example, we had a horse-drawn carriage. It was a Disney princess theme, and the guys went in this horse-drawn carriage to go pick up the girls to bring them to the dance, and it was all decorated. So we tried to not only bring those activities back that they're missing out on, but go above and beyond in the fun.
Oh, for sure. I have to think that there's got to be a challenge there too, though, right? Because everybody's at a different level, maybe, of cancer. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but some kids might be more sick than the others. So you might have some that are able to participate more, some that can participate in only other certain activities.
There's several aspects to that. And yes, we pay close attention to that. Number one, we will not do an activity unless every child can participate. Oh. It's not allowed if every single one is not involved. So that involves not only the health, we have to look at the kids that we have and what their medical situation is at the time. Because the other unique part about our program is that once you're in, you're in. Cancer doesn't end with chemo. Yeah. And so we support the kids and family for life. So we make sure medically, so whether their energy level or if they're in treatment or if it's just too high risk, if someone fell off because their bones are more brittle, or maybe they've lost a limb or have balance issues, we look at all of that before activities are chosen. And then if necessary, we also purchase adaptive equipment in order for all kids to be able to participate.
Wow. Seems like a great way for those that participate to meet others that are going through a similar experience, right? Can you speak to that a little?
I actually believe that's the most important part of our programs. We talk, as you've seen and heard, about the fun, but that really is just the front line. I mean, that's how you get the kids there, right? It's for the fun. What most of them don't realize is how important and needed that connection is. And you can see it happen and hear the conversations. Interestingly enough, like one's missing an arm and we're all high-fiving and they work together to figure it out. And then they start talking about, well, yeah, I did lose that to cancer. And suddenly there's that connection. Or, oh, I have the same cancer. Are you on this medication? Yeah, I lost my hair too. I mean, there's so many different connections that are made through talking, but also you don't even have to talk about it, and they know they're around someone that understands their situation. And that's true for our family camps as well. When the parents are there, to have other parents that they just don't really have to say much and they feel accepted and understood, which is to me the greatest value of what we're providing.
It's definitely a community, right? We were talking when I'd mentioned when you first got here that we were talking with Flock Cancer. And Leslie, the founder of Flock Cancer, was saying once you're part of that cancer community, you're always a part of it, even if you're in remission. And that's kind of what, to your point, you're always part of the family, you're always part of the community, something that nobody else will understand.
Right.
And I love it. They have found, a community and friends for life that get it and understand. And I get so like the chills just thinking about that, like what you are providing for these kids, because it's got to feel lonely. And I love that they have this community.
There's a lot of sadness. And if you think about when you were a kid and how hard it was and the judgment of others and everything you go through,
just being a kid alone.
Just being a kid is hard. And then you add on the judgment for what you're going through, because most kids don't understand what cancer is. Right. They think that they're contagious.
It's scary, right?
It's scary, and the conversations aren't there. And so the isolation, besides the fact that the diagnosis requires isolation, within school and their peer groups, they're isolated, and they don't really want to have to talk about it. I'll never forget one young man that talks about his eye was impacted because he had a brain tumor, and how awful it is to go to school and be questioned about his eye being droopy and different all the time, but that he comes to camp and nobody says a word because why would you? We know what you're going through. And it also instills a level of confidence in them that they're missing and losing out on at school now because they feel left out or awkward or isolated. And so that week, we're packing a lot of fun in, but we're packing in armor to last them for another year.
Right.
And the community aspect, you talk about a lot of kids feeling isolation at school and things. So they probably, I'd assume, have to lean more into their family community, right? Their family supports, which I think is probably a lot of the reason that you're providing camps also to the family members, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, they become this unit, and this brings up the siblings as well. Because here the parents sometimes have to quit a job, and all of their energy is going into, rightly so, no guilt to the parent, to make sure that their child survives and lives. And then there's these siblings that unfortunately, but take somewhat of a back seat for a while, maybe even up to years. And so it produces this dynamic in the family that can be really challenging for the parents to balance, for the siblings to understand, for the child with cancer not to feel guilty, like survivor's guilt and guilt that it's this dynamic that is extremely challenging to navigate for these families. And they're thrown into it right away, and then there's a financial impact. And so by having a family camp and supporting the entire family, we're addressing these challenges for them. The family camp specifically brings them together with other families that can say, I get it, and I'm here for you. And then you see that they connect, which is a big part of it as well, because when they all leave camp, they have new friends that they can rely on.
Is there any resource connection happening here too? I'd assume, like you spoke a little bit about the financial aspects. If a parent has to quit a job, or maybe there's transportation challenges, is that part of what you do as well, a connection to those resources?
We always say if we know something, we'll reference them and send them. We work very closely with St. Luke's Children's Hospital. And so they do have resources and child life specialists and social workers that we encourage the families to get to. But we are often contacted by community support saying, do you have a family that needs this or needs this? So we will extend that and make those connections, even though it's not a direct part of our mission right now. It is something really needed for these families because resources are so hard. Specifically to our camps, we provide transportation. So if they can't do that, we'll make that happen. Those kinds of things. If a kid shows up with something they don't need, we provide it. But in that family unit, our focus really is getting them to camp and keeping them connected throughout the year.
Are they coming from all over the state of Idaho?
Currently, it's mostly focused southwest Idaho, some southeast Idaho. Northern Idaho has a camp up there in Spokane. Okay. And so we haven't, if someone applied, we will take them. Anyone from Idaho is welcome to attend Camp Rainbow Gold.
What is, when you talk about the siblings, the families, camps, what does that look like? Are those all at the same time and the same time as that the child with cancer, their camp is as well? Are those at the same time? Are they at the same location and they get to see each other, or are they completely separate? What does that look like?
So they're all at Hidden Paradise, but
Okay.
they're all different times. So we have 5 camps that run different schedules. Our family camps, we have one in the spring and one in the fall. And then our week-long camps for the kids are during the month of June, and they're all their own week.
Okay.
Very much specifically for the siblings, because when we started that, which was based on a child, a sibling that it's a beautiful story that I can share, but they need their own camp. They need
Yeah.
their own attention. And so we're often asked, why don't you let the siblings come? And it's like, because the sibling needs their own attention.
Yeah.
So
I'd love if you wanted to share that story a little bit.
back before we owned our own property and leased other camps, we would have one day during the week of camp that was called VIP Day. And we would bring the parents and the siblings up to camp for a fun day. And I'll never forget it. I was at the bus welcoming. It came around the corner. The parents and siblings were so excited because we had the ball field set up with a huge carnival. It had bounce houses and fun games and everything. And I had the checklist to mark everyone off. And you know, on a school bus, that top stair that you stand on and then you jump as a kid. Well, this sibling, this young boy, got to that stair and he just was looking around with the biggest, widest eyes. And he jumped off onto the ground and he declared, "I wish I had cancer so I could have this much fun."
Wow.
You do not need to have cancer to have this much fun.
Right.
And the next summer, we started our sibling camp. And we started small. We started with a 4-day retreat. We quickly realized we needed a full week. And it was a completely different ball game than the kids with cancer. And it's been, and it is every year. They come in, again, no fault to the parents, but they come in seeking attention in ways that come across for some as behavioral issues, like they refuse to eat certain foods, or they run off, or they hide under a table, or they scream really loud. You know, there's just this energy of I need attention.
Right.
And very quickly, it's one of the most powerful things I get to witness at camp is about 24 hours watching them settle in and realize I don't have to do that here. I'm seen. I'm a part. I'm surrounded by those that understand. I can just have fun and I'm getting what I need here. I really want to stress no fault to the parents. It's just part of a cancer diagnosis. And the sibling camp is our largest camp. But we have a social worker at every camp.
That's my next question is the social workers. Yeah.
We
that's
have
great.
2 at sibling camp just to be available. We don't do counseling, but we are there if something comes up because it happens naturally when they're having fun. Or where we see it most often is actually like in the art shack. They're sitting and doing art. And if you just listen to them, some pretty heavy stuff is coming up. Things like, yeah, your brother has cancer. Well, my brother died of cancer last year. And the conversation starts. And so we make sure we're there just to check in, report to the parent, hey, we heard this kind of scenario. But our job is not to do their counseling. It's to be there and provide this opportunity for them to feel heard and seen and accepted.
Oh, wow. I mean, what a great thing you're giving to the families, you know, and I love the idea of the sibling ones because for them to be seen, I mean, it's got to be so hard for them. And also you were saying about how one of the kids said, well, my, brother died last year, and that's, even though they're seeking attention, they're also scared, and they're really scared about losing their.
They're very scared, and there's actually a statistic that says the brothers and sisters of a pediatric cancer patient has more long-term psychosocial reactions, meaning drug abuse, suicide, teen pregnancies, those kinds of things are happening with the siblings, and we actually see it. We are dealing with our sibling campers that, she's not here this year because she's pregnant, or we have had loss of campers to suicide. So it's a real need, and it's something that we feel just as strongly about as we do with the child with cancer.
So the family camps then, those are their own thing, right? Is that the parents or the whole family?
It is the entire family.
Okay.
So they arrive, it's a weekend retreat. They arrive on Thursday afternoon, and they are each family is assigned their own counselor. And that counselor is there to do anything and everything for them, even if that's hold the baby while we're in the canoe. So whatever
It's really
it
the
is.
whole family.
Yeah, it is the whole family, no age limitation. And they define who their family is. So if it's, we've had people are like, really? We've had mom and dad, but they're new, they're divorced and they're new partners there because it's an important dynamic of the family. So they are there for a weekend of fun. And I think what they would tell you, one of the best nights is we split the kids from the parents, and the parents get a date night, something that they don't get anymore. Yeah. And so, and the kids are off having fun. And some of the parents are like, can we go later? Can we stay in date night? They miss some of that adult interaction without the kids because they are isolated as a family unit, and that has its own challenges as well. The parents don't get to stay focused on their marriage or just have some of that adult time that's valuable in any relationship.
Well, and just like the child experiencing this illness and this isolation, I'm sure the parents are experiencing that as well, right? And finding other parents that know what it's like or can relate on some level.
Absolutely. They don't have others to talk to about what's going on. They are losing parts of their relationship. There's guilt, a huge level of guilt because they're focused on the one child, and the siblings may not be getting the attention they know they want to give them, but they just can't. Guilt that their kid is sick, guilt. And then the worst part of it all, of course, is when they lose their child.
Right. And, talking about the isolation that these families are going through, anytime a family goes through a tragedy or a really hard time, I think at no fault of their friends, people don't know what to say. They don't know if they should contact them, if they should let them be, because it's just hard not knowing, and I don't want to bother them or whatever. And I think, I don't know if you might be like, well, I'm not the one to talk to about this for advice, but from what you have learned in your time there, do you have advice for families, other families that have a close family or someone they know that is going through something like this, a tragedy, reaching out, letting them be? What do you see as maybe some advice to give those to support the families that are dealing with this?
I would suggest a couple of things. One, don't be scared to say the word cancer and to ask the questions. Most times the parents find it helpful to talk about it because that allows them to process it. Offer to come get the siblings and provide some entertainment and fun to them if they're allowed to go have that contact, or drop off something fun and new for the family to do within their home. And if you just want to do something helpful with, because we find this in all our lives, right? What can I do to help? Nothing. One that I've seen really effective is just go buy the essentials. Buy some toilet paper, buy some toothpaste, toothbrushes, the essentials, so they just don't have to worry about that, and drop it off on the porch with a little note and be good with it.
Right.
So there's ways to get creative, but really just don't be scared to say cancer and ask the questions about what's going on for the child. And also, as odd as it may seem, there can be humor around it as well. We laugh a lot up at camp, and people will say to us, I don't want to volunteer, it'll be too sad. Well, you're missing out because it's amazing, and it's full of joy and happiness and a ton of laughter. And they don't want to hide their challenges because of cancer. They want to be able to laugh at themselves and poke fun at it and just feel normal.
And live.
Just
they are
live.
living.
They are living, and it's not that if you avoid it, it feels like an in and something that it makes it worse and bigger. Where it's just their life, it's their childhood. They don't know any different. They're kids.
Yeah, and I think not just at the beginning of the diagnosis, right? I think this is something to check in we talked about this a little bit last time, sporadically, or dropping off those essentials sporadically, not just, maybe a year down the line or
Absolutely.
something, not just at the very beginning when we always drop off the food and all that at the beginning, and then we kind of, everyone goes about their lives. And I think it's also maybe important.
Absolutely. I said earlier, cancer doesn't end with chemo. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people don't know is these families are going for tests and scans for another 5 years.
Right.
They have to get 5 years of clean everything before they're declared absent of disease. And then for childhood cancer, another thing that we witness, so many of our campers come back as our counselors.
Oh, fantastic.
But one of the things we often see is that they develop adult cancer and fight again. And so that's always in the back of their mind. So, chemo's over, cancer's far from over for these kids and family members. It's something that carries with them for many, many years.
Or the chemo or the treatment they had as a child is going to affect them. I know that was with an aunt of ours, had it as a child, and then later on the body was still reacting to, had been beaten down from all that treatment.
Yes.
So
their immune systems are low. Mm-hmm. Cancer can come back. Maybe they lost a limb or they lost their balance. You'll hear a lot of them refer to chemo brain, so they don't process as fast. Those things are carried long after they're done going in for treatment.
Yeah.
And you said that they can, once they're in for life, so they can keep coming back. Do you see that a lot with most campers, that they come back year after year? Or
the campers come back year after year, and then they have the opportunity to become our volunteers, which many do. Some leave for a little while and then come back, or different things. But right now, we have 2 board members that are former campers.
Oh, my goodness.
So they carry all the way through. They go through our volunteer program and now are part of our board. And we have one that's a staff member. Our current volunteer coordinator is a former camper.
Wow. That's
that is
fantastic.
So neat, and obviously shows how much of an impact that this experience in the camp had on them.
Yes, and it's an amazing way. The one that has shocked me the most is how many former campers and volunteers have different Camp Rainbow Gold tattoos.
Really?
Yes. That's when I'm like, oh, we made an impact. They just put it on their body forever.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And we're actually trying to pull together pictures and stories of all those that have gone that far.
How cool.
I know.
Do you find that they stay in touch after camp, that a lot of them stay close and connected? I mean, obviously, if they have the tattoos, they're inherently connected. But
They do. Some of them will tell you that I can give examples of young adults that are out in college that they will tell you their best friends are those from camp. And even though they typically see each other now once a year volunteering at Camp Rainbow Gold, they stay connected all year. And then here's an example. They're all connected out on social media as well still, and follow us. And we come across unfortunate stories. We've had 2 recently. One of our former campers, her daughter now has the exact same cancer at the exact same age that she did and is fighting. And it's just crazy in a really positive way, watching the Camp Rainbow Gold family surrounding her and helping her and supporting her daughter to get through the battle. And that's a common thing that we see. It's kind of like those really dear friends that, if you only pick up the phone every 3 months or something, you fall right back into it, and it's forever. If a Camp Rainbow Gold family member needs the Camp Rainbow Gold family, they're there.
Yeah. I want to talk about Hidden Paradise. I know we've been talking about the camps, and just kind of talk to us about how that came into play. It sounds like it's pretty much just an expansion into Fairfield. Is that, or?
Well, so Camp Rainbow Gold used to lease campsites.
Yeah.
And in doing that, we ran into several issues. We had safety issues because there are not camps in Idaho that are medically thought of in their building, and they're not accessible. So we would have storage units in trailers, and we'd have to show up at camp a couple of days early and add things like wheelchair ramps and handheld showers and seats and entryways into buildings and things like that. We even had to, at one point, we have a 36-foot mobile pediatric unit because we needed better medical facilities to support the kids. And so we were building out camp every year. In addition, we couldn't get long-term leases. And at this point, we were 30 years old, and we're driven from all donations and community support. So we take a lot of responsibility that we're using other people's money. And here we were 30 years old, and we couldn't guarantee that Camp Rainbow Gold was going to be here forever, which was our desire. And so then the other really hard part was capacity. We were running out of room, and we were turning away children and families, which was the heart-driven piece to this. So when we came out from under the American Cancer Society in 2014, our board said, we need to resolve this. Let's start looking around the state for a permanent home that is someone that wants to grow with us, but that also understands the need for a medical camp in Idaho. Well, it doesn't exist. Well, it didn't exist. It does now.
It does now.
Hidden Paradise. So then we went on a property search, and we ended up buying this 172 acres. It's an old golf course that's in Fairfield, Idaho. And we bought it in 2019. We kicked off a capital campaign. We were doing really well moving forward. And then our good friend COVID came around. Mm-hmm. We were still leasing the other sites while we were raising the money to build out this camp because it was old and we needed new buildings. Well, we did what everyone did and went virtual for one summer. And we had 200 participants online. And as soon as it was over, our partners at St. Luke's called us and said, hey, that was great, but it doesn't work. We need these kids face to face. We want you to host camp back live next year, and we'll help you make it happen with one condition. And we're like, what's that? And they said, we're not going back to the old camps. We want to go to the new camp, Hidden Paradise. So we spent 6 months remodeling 14 buildings, and we moved in 2 years early in 2021, hosted Camp Rainbow Gold there for the first summer in 2021. But something else really beautiful came out of this whole process. We got a lot of media attention when we were looking for camps and bought this one. Well, there's other medical nonprofits in Idaho serving children with other medical challenges like muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, things like that. Amputees, kids that require assisted talking devices. They were running into the same challenges with the leases, and they said, can we come? Can we use your facility when you're not using it? So when Camp Rainbow Gold's not using it, we lease it out to 8 other local nonprofits serving kids with medical challenges. And that's how it's become Idaho's only medical camp.
Amazing. Look what you guys did.
It's
so
pretty
great.
great.
That's so great.
It's pretty great.
Such a cool accomplishment. I mean, you've solved your issue of sustainability.
We
that's
did.
So neat.
Camp Rainbow Gold is forever now.
Yeah.
And collaborating with other nonprofits
Yep.
was just icing on the cake, because truly every kid should be able to go to camp.
Yeah.
But you need the facilities for it.
And not having to also find a new place, put up camp. I mean, to have it all there, have the location, everybody's familiar with it, so the families are always comfortable. They know what to expect. I mean, it's just a great win-win all around.
It's so great. And we have a gorgeous new health center on site. So we're actually trying to sell the trailer because we don't need it anymore. But we have this beautiful building now, and the best aspect of it is it has 2 windows on the front with a water filling station. The kids can just run up to the window, get their medication, take it, and back to fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know that, I mean, it's just, that sounds small to some people, but to us, that was huge.
Wow.
And there's so many aspects like that, because in the last 18 months, we've built 13 new buildings, including that new health center. We added a sports court, an all-accessible playground, 4 miles of bike trails, a hammock village, And we have a low ropes course, an archery area, and an equestrian area.
I love the hammock village.
It's the best.
I have a group of friends that we always go camping with every year, and the kids put up the hammocks we call it, and they're always hanging out in the little hammock area. So yeah, it's very important for all camps.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the relaxation time.
I've been curious. You've spoken a couple times a little bit about coming out from under the American Cancer Society. Thank you. Mm-hmm. How did that benefit you, I guess is my question. Or what does that look like? What does that mean? Or were there pros or cons, or probably both?
Both. We were already talking about needing a new camp facility, and the American Cancer Society wasn't willing to allow us to move forward on that. And so it kind of tied our hands for several years on being able to explore that. So that was one huge benefit by coming out on our own, is that we could secure Camp Rainbow Gold forever. It was a decision by American Cancer Society nationwide. They shut down. I shouldn't say shut down, because they gave all of the camps opportunities they gave us a year to figure out how we could continue outside of their umbrella. And many made it, but it was over 40 camps nationwide that was in that position and had to reestablish themselves. But it also, we had the protection of them as an umbrella, which was huge. So just think insurance and risk management, that's a huge protection to have. So we had to make sure we could build that foundation and be able to do that on our own. Before it was 2014, we came out on our own. So a lot of it was scary and it was hard, but they also were thoughtful and worked with us for a year. And, we rolled out on our own in 2014, and we have been really fortunate in the fundraising arm of all of this, because we are supported by all of you. Mm-hmm. We happened to receive a legacy gift right at that time that secured our foundation as soon as we rolled out. So we had that huge blessing as well. So it was an interesting time. I understand why they did it, which I think is important. So they wanted to get more focused on their mission, which is research.
Right. Which is great. And it's great that that we have them, to do that. But I will say there's nothing I love more than a success story of the local nonprofits doing it on their own with the help of the community. It just feeds my soul. I love it.
too.
I love hearing your story about how you did it. You did it on, your own here locally. And we must say to the donors, like Idaho and the Treasure Valley, we feel it, you feel it, is amazing. We have amazing donors here that just give and give and give, that allow us to be able to do what we're doing and to be able to be creative, find what works for us on a local level, because it's great to have those larger nonprofits as the umbrella, but we also need to do what works for our state and our community.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you. Congratulations.
Thank
it's
you.
Not an easy thing to do at all, but you did it.
Thank you.
And I love
it was a team effort for sure.
Yeah.
It took a lot of us, and the value of nonprofits, local nonprofits in a community, I think is often overlooked, because if they went away, there'd be a whole lot of services provided to our community that would be lost.
Absolutely.
Had this question in the back of my head that I've been meaning to ask. So if a child or siblings or family wants to join a camp and get involved, is there a cost associated with that?
Thank you for asking that, because it's really important. No, we do all of our services at no cost to the family. And the process is they can contact us anytime through website and all of that. But we are partnered with St. Luke's, and so they work very closely with us in making sure the kids are ready for camp. But we do it at no cost and volunteer-based, and they're welcome anytime.
That's fantastic. So you're saying not just, here's a cost, if you can afford it, great, but all across the board, no cost. And, oh my gosh, because it's got to cost a lot of money to go through treatment.
Right.
Whether someone comes with a family with a lot of money or not, it affects them all, and that it's got to be expensive. So what an amazing gift you're giving them.
Absolutely. I can't even imagine saying if you can afford, we just
Right,
can't. No,
right.
no cost.
No cost.
You shouldn't have to pay for this. You should have this.
Wow.
Yeah. Aligns with our mission as well, the
Yeah.
accessibility factor. It's
Yeah.
just, it's so important. So you're volunteer based at the camps, at the counselors and those who run the camps. And you mentioned that a lot of them were former campers, but can anyone be a volunteer? Anyone who's interested?
We do have a little bit of an age thing going on. We're accredited by the American Camp Association, and we follow more than 300 standards because obviously safety is very key in this situation. I mean, sending a kid to camp when they're not sick and now adding in that they're receiving cancer treatment at camp. So we do have, for our oncology camps, you have to be 21 years of age to be a camp counselor in the cabin with the kids. So there is that limitation. The other thing that it's a commitment to be one of our volunteers because you're going through training in the spring. You're watching videos leading up to it. You arrive on Saturday. You're in training all day Saturday and part of Sunday before the campers arrive. And then you're there all the way through Friday. And here's a kicker that people kind of balk at, but once they do it, they're like, we should do that more often. They put their cell phones down the entire time they are there. They are off from the outside world because the minute you pick that up, your brain is back there instead of with those kids. And so it's a commitment to be a volunteer. So camp counselors have to be 21 years of age. They go through interviews, they go through background checks, things like that. But we do have other opportunities throughout the organization at Hidden Paradise and with our year-round just operations that we work to try to get any age coming in to volunteer.
Yeah, that's great and sounds like a huge commitment. So I just think that's incredible that there's so many volunteers that are willing to put in that commitment.
We utilize over, I think our number right now is over 40,000 hours of volunteer time every year.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And if you think about that, if we had to pay for staffing for that, our budget would be even much higher. So we couldn't do it without our volunteers. They're, in my opinion, our greatest donor. And it is a commitment. And they're often using their own PTO and time off to come do that.
Yeah. Wow. So donors, do you guys have like a big fundraiser every year that you can tell people about, or how people can, this is a passion of theirs, or like, this is where I want to give my money?
Absolutely. We have a lot of opportunity for giving. There's events that happen all over the Treasure Valley and Southwest Idaho, or I should say Southern Idaho, year round. And our website's a great resource to see those. Right now, going to our website and just selecting to donate now is a great way. But we are currently in the season gearing up for our Share Your Heart Ball, which is our main fundraiser that this will be our 24th year. It's hosted in Sun Valley, which some find odd, but you'd be surprised. About 40% of our crowd comes from the Treasure Valley. They're very excited to actually get out of the Treasure Valley and go to something so
Sun
great.
Valley, I mean,
absolutely. It happens to fall on Valentine's Day this year. It's always President's Day weekend, so February 14th. And we've been voted the best gala up in Sun Valley for, I think it's 16 of the 24 years now. We have fun. We bring the fun of camp to the night. We focus on the impact of what those donors are doing. We share the kids' stories. We have we have families there, some of our volunteers there, and it's just a great night. And it raises over $700,000 every year, and that's a huge chunk of our budget. So we need volunteers for that. We need donors for that. And of course, if you want to attend, you can go to our website to get tickets and tables and things like that.
So you can buy a table, and then there's sponsorships available as well. How many tables, or what's your max capacity that you guys usually have for those?
So we've been, since COVID, we're down more around 350, 400, but we've been as high as 500 people in the room. Okay. So we're always open to growth. But we're on track for another great year, and we would love to have some new faces up there. It's a lot of fun. But, if you can't make that gala, because we know that's a commitment as well, there's a lot of opportunity not only to support the actual camps, but to support Hidden Paradise, because we're not done. I mentioned all that work we've done. We're not done. We're still in a capital campaign, and we need additional help. There's one major building we still need right now.
Yeah. I kind of think that you're never done, right? I feel like we're never done because new technology comes out of something else you might need, or something happens and you might need it fixed or whatever. So,
you're never done
You're
fundraising.
never done fundraising. You're never done fixing the building or adding on, or, you know, especially as you're growing and getting bigger.
Absolutely. Which is our goal.
Which is, Yeah.
So what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned from working at Camp Rainbow Gold from all these years?
I don't know. I guess it's a lesson. It was a young man named Jaden, and he had lost his leg to cancer. And this was back actually when we were leasing other sites. We would have to bus the kids to activities because the old sites didn't have much to do on them. And we would take them into Sun Valley to go ice skating. And there was a local organization that would come with adaptive equipment. And because he'd lost his leg, we put him in, it's just like this, I'm not going to come up with the word, but it's a seat that he could sit in and be pushed around the ice. And he was doing that, and he got done and came and sat next to me, and he was pretty upset. And I'm like, "What is wrong, Jaden?" He's like, "I want to ice skate." And I said, "You just did." And he said, "No, I didn't. I got pushed in a cart around the ice." And the Sun Valley Suns hockey team was there, and two of the guys overheard him saying this. And he was like, "I want to skate." Well, they went and they got a hockey puck, and they added a toe pick to this end of it and duct taped it on it and said, "Let's go. You're going to skate." And they got him up on his one leg, and it took extra effort to get it, but he went around the rink on one leg. And he popped off and sat next to me with the biggest smile that I'll remember forever. He's unfortunately no longer with us. Huge smile. And he's like, "I told you I could do anything."
Oh my gosh.
And it just is something that he loved turtles. And I have a turtle still to this day on my desk from him. And it's my reminder that it just knows not the answer. It's creativity and figuring out how something can be done. You just got to ask more questions and get creative. So whenever I'm feeling blocked or struggling or just, can we do this anymore? I just think about Jaden. And yeah, of course you can, because I'm not sitting in the hospital fighting cancer. I have all my resources. So let's figure it out.
It's a beautiful story.
Go around that rink.
Yeah.
Go
around that rink.
Oh my gosh. I think that's an amazing story to end on. And this has been so inspiring and so eye-opening of what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
And just, again, kudos,
Thank
Elizabeth. We really appreciate what you're doing for the community. If there's any way that we can help, we will put your website on our webpage, on the Mindful Mike page. Wonderful. So that people can directly go over there, learn about volunteering, about donations, get those tickets to the gala. It sounds like a great time. A good excuse to also go to Sun Valley for the weekend. A weekend Sun Valley getaway. And just everybody out there listening, this is something that's true to your heart. This is where you can donate your time, money, love, all of it.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing it. We love sharing our story.
We love having you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
We are so grateful to Elizabeth for sharing the incredible work happening at Camp Rainbow Gold.
Camp Rainbow Gold reminds us that healing isn't just about treatment. It's about connection, community, and creating space for joy, rest, and emotional support.
To learn more, volunteer, or support their mission, visit camprainbowgold.org.
And if this episode resonates with you, please share it and join us next time on The Mindful Mike, where conversations create connection and care.